This is the Criterion Creeps podcast. And tonight we're talking about Jubilee from 1978, directed by Jarman. The tagline, RJ, for this film: sex, drugs, and punk rock. Add violence and time travel, and you have Jubilee.
Like the actual definition of Jubilee, or just the movie Jubilee you get?
I guess the movie.
Yeah, that's accurate. Then you do get the movie.
Not to be confused with Jubilation Lee.
Oh, the Jim Lee character from 90s X-Men?
Yeah.
She's pretty cool. Like I remember as a kid I hated Jubilee because she was always like the catalyst that set things off, but it was to initiate the conflict. Mm-hmm. But as a kid I was always like, what the fuck you doing, Jubilee? Just relax. Stop causing problems. You know what I mean, Jarrett?
The synopsis of this film. Queen Elizabeth I visits late 20th century Britain to find a depressing landscape where life has changed since her time.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the movie.
So,
RJ.
Yeah.
Last week, I alluded to the fact that this movie would probably top a list of yours.
Yes. Which list is that, Jarrett?
Well, I didn't say. I mean, I just said it. It would wind up being on one of your lists. Absolutely.
Which one did you think it would be?
One of the not good ones.
Being?
I don't know. You have lots of bad lists. There's the list that you have of like movies that Jarrett has made me watch. There's a possibility of that, and perhaps on a list, but maybe at the bottom of a list, perhaps.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. There's all sorts of there's all sorts of things. Not being on a list isn't necessarily a good thing. That all being said, why did I think of this with Jubilee and RJ? Well, RJ, I'd seen this movie once before.
Sure you had.
I saw this movie probably 2007, 2008. In fact, I saw it with the singer of our podcast intro, who I believe either owned this, had bought it blind, or had got it through the early days of Netflix when it was just a mail-in. They'll send DVDs to you club. And longtime patron Lawrence. We all sat down and watched Jubilee.
So this was the starting of the podcast then. This was a meeting of the minds. Mm-hmm. But the YouTube fans don't know our catchy intro, right? That's
right.
Only for premium content.
That's right, for premium.
Which is also free.
You can just click over, follow that CriterionCreeps.com and play any one of our episodes, and it'll kick up with those sweet beats.
It's almost like you planned it.
That's right. And you know what, RJ?
Yes.
Going into this movie this week, all I really remember was like not really liking the movie very much then.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And boy,
funny that you say.
Boy, I sure don't like this movie at all now.
Oh, interesting. I thought this was a certified Jarrett pick.
Why would you think that, RJ?
Well, you were talking it up a bit. It seemed like a Jarrett pick for sure. For sure.
Yes. So you'd think that this movie, it seems like it checks some of Jarrett's boxes. You think, yeah, that should be enough. But it's not assembled well. It's not put together in a way that is appealing.
Sure.
It's something that you want to spend any amount of time with, that you want to like invest yourself in. It just seems like I believe on Wikipedia it is described as plotless, and it's like, yes,
sure.
This certainly
people
feels
describe this podcast as plotless.
Well, it is a podcast,
as opposed to a pod.
To a film.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, of course. Tell me more about Jubilee, Jarrett, and how much you appreciate this filmmaking.
So this movie, first of all, it actually has a pretty nice DVD cover. It's actually a pretty striking graphic image that you're like, ooh, this has got that some sort of weird musical punk thing. And then you read the back and you're like, time travel, fascinating. This seems like a rip roaring good time. This should be a good one. So what I did was I went to Wikipedia and I kind of I want to read through the plot of this film. And
I thought it was flawless,
perhaps,
Jarrett.
well, we'll see what is how they'll susses out. There's some interesting
Sure.
things here, RJ. So, as mentioned before, Queen Elizabeth I, played by Jenny Runeker, is transported forward in time by the occultist John Dee, played by Richard O'Brien, by the aid of the spirit guide Ariel, a character from RJ William Shakespeare's The Tempest.
William Shakespeare's The Tempest. Now, are you going to try to say that I am Caliban again?
I mean,
is Caliban in this movie?
Well,
or just the one character?
No. The spirit guide Ariel, whom he commands. Elizabeth arrives in the shattered Britain of the 1970s. And Elizabeth II is dead, killed in an arbitrary mugging. And Elizabeth I moves through the social and physical decay of the city, observing the sporadic activities of a group of aimless nihilists, including amyl nitrate, Bod, Chaos, Crabs, and Mad.
What was your high school nickname, Jarrett?
Jarrett.
I thought it was Meat Boy.
Meat Boy. I wish.
Of, that stuff that happened.
Yeah. My favorite part of the plot synopsis is numerous punk icons appear in the film, including Jordan, a Malcolm McLaren protege, Toya Wilcox.
Oh, wow.
Nell Campbell, Adam Ant, Hermine Domerani, and Wayne Country. It features performances by Wayne Country and Adam and the Ants. There are also cameo appearances by The Slits and Susie and the Banshees.
What? Wow, what a terrific just catalog of punk celebrities.
You do know who Susie and the Banshees are, right?
I haven't heard of a single one of these things, and I don't give a shit.
Well, there you go. If you don't even know who Sushi and the Banshees are, you can just keep your opinions to yourself, my friend. That's a pretty big oversight. That's on you, my friend. And RJ. But the big one, the film was scored by Brian Eno, which I was kind of like, huh.
I would say why though?
Because he was part of the scene, man. You know.
All right.
So here we go again. It begins with a scene where John Dee summons the spirit of Ariel for Queen Elizabeth. This skips over the midget.
Oh, who's just like feeding like some ponies or something?
Yeah, dogs.
They look like ponies. Those are they Great Danes or do I just have a bad memory?
Yeah, they're dogs. They're not horses. The action, RJ, then moves to an archaic present day where law and order has broken down and punk gangs roam the streets committing acts of murder and larceny. Sounds pretty cool, right? So this movie, it opens up with this John Dee Queen Elizabeth thing, and it is so low rent. It is just and it goes on. It's written in the style of the time. It's trying to capture that 16th century, 17th century dialogue, and it's just what is this? And then it jumps ahead, and you're like, okay, cool, streets and buildings. I know what these are. In one squat, amyl nitrate is instructing a group of young women. In so doing, valorizing the violent criminal activity of Myra Hindley. RJ, are you familiar with Myra Hindley?
Oh, who isn't?
And Tom, her husband, they're Moors murderers, killing children. So it's everyone at the time would have known about this, and they've made films. And again, RJ, if you've never heard of Myra Hindley, come on. Before she reminisces about her time as a ballet dancer and introduces the audience to Mad, Crabs, Chaos, Sphinx, and Angel, two incestuous bisexual brothers, and Bod, a sex-hating anarchist. Bod has just strangled and killed Elizabeth II and stolen her crown. RJ, did you also notice that Bod is played by the same actress that plays Queen Elizabeth I?
Isn't that also the same actress that was Cabiria in Fellini's Nights at Cabiria, and also the actress who portrayed Uncle Mon Oncle in that famous Jacques Tati film?
All one and the same.
One and the same, I believe. Yes.
From there, RJ, the group move on to a cafe where Krabs picks up a young musician named The Kid.
Sure they do.
Mad tears up some postcards, and Bod attacks a waitress with a bottle of ketchup. Bod contacts impresario Borja Gaines are on meeting Gaines. However, she is surprised to find Emil performing a pastiche of rural Britannia. Remember that? Remember when she's doing the goose step? Huh?
Sure, I remember.
Sphinx and Angel establish a relationship with Viv, a young former artist whom they take to meet Max, an ex-soldier. In exchange for sexual favors, Krabs takes the kid to see Gins, who auditions him and his band signs them up under the name Scum. Sphinx and Angel try to talk the kid out of this, but he just laughs at their lecturing. Gins is branching out into property management and has purchased abandoned properties such as Westminster Cathedral and Buckingham Palace, which are transformed into musical venues. Remember? Meanwhile, Mad Bod and Krabs asphyxiate Happy Days, one of Krabs' one-night stands, with red plastic sheeting, and break into the flat of androgynous rock star Lounge Lizard, whom Bod throttles to death. A fight breaks out at a disco session in St. Paul's Crypt between Kid and a policeman. After the gang all watch Kid's TV debut together, Viv and the three males all pay a visit to Max's bingo hall, where violent police activity causes the death of Sphinx, Angel, and the Kid. This is around the hour and 15-minute mark, I believe.
Of what's the full runtime?
Oh, what is this? Like an hour and 46 minutes or so?
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, that's it.
That's all, hey?
And 2 revenge attacks on the police officers responsible. One of them is castrated to death by Mad and Emil. The other one, who has just started an affair with Krabs, is blown up on his doorstep with a petrol bomb by Bod. Finally, Gins takes the 4 women off to Dorset and signs a recording contract with them. Interspersed with these displays of contemporary anarchic violence, Dee, Ariel, and Elizabeth try to interpret the signs of anarchic modernity around them before they undertake a pastoral and nostalgic return to the 16th century at the film's end.
Oh, is that all, Jer?
That's the movie. That's
man. When you put it like that, it seems wild, but
it makes you really think.
Makes you really put it all together. I mean, it just flies by. You it's hard even to keep it all track.
It's definitely not the kind of movie where like you just like get up and like go make a sandwich and come back maybe 10 minutes later and go, oh, this is still going?
Still going on. Oh, you mean one of the musical cues, perhaps, when they start those scenes and you're like, you know what? Maybe I'll go change the sand, or maybe I'll go change the litter box. Yes. I didn't do that today. This is a good time to do that. And then you come back, you're like, oh, still on, hey? Oh, I better take out that hamburger to defrost for tonight. So you go to the deep freeze, you pull that out, you walk it upstairs, stretch a little, fill up your water, slam her back, and you take a breath, and you're like, okay, let's go back. Yep. You go back down, and then you see there's a little bit more of the same.
A little bit more. And then I think there is that moment, though, when it ends, and you go, whew.
Yeah, and then that's when you come to the realization, you're like, this is because of Jarrett, I think.
Well, you're complicit in your presence.
No.
Every week.
I've never been on board with these things.
You show up. So, yeah, I really dislike this movie.
Sure.
It is like, there's nothing for me here. I could make an example of like, it's done better here, but I don't know, like that would be an insult to those movies, being like, why? Because why this movie just isn't, it fails on all fronts. Not like I get nothing out of it. I am hard pressed picking a movie that I would consider the worst movie, I think, in the collection for me. Like this outdoes, I think, How to Get Ahead in Advertising.
Yes.
At least in this
100%.
block, and I'd have to look in the previous block, because I mean, there's that magic flute. Boy, oh boy, is that not a good time? But yeah, this is down there for me. I don't know. I have no idea how to even talk about this. I get the impression that this movie does have fans, and there's some element of it that they get out of it. I mean, I do listen to punk, and I do know who Adam Antis is a punk band, and I get these like references. I get what they're going for, but this, I mean, and Derek Jarman, he apparently the director of this, so he is a. He's not like a famous director, but he's pretty like. He's got some weight behind him. He directed, like, he made this one project called Blue. He's like a gay activist, gardener. He made this one film called Blue where he filmed, basically it's a single frame of blue as he narrates his life of being treated with for HIV and talking about during that moment of being treated, he saw a flash of blue. And that's kind of like more of an outlier in his body of work. A lot of his stuff is kind of variations on kind of this Britishness that I feel Peter Greenaway does a much better job, but maybe that's because I'm a stuffy man and I like kind of the mannered, ordered indulgence of Peter Greenaway, whereas this just feels like it's just like listless indulgence. And also apparently Derek Jarman thought of this movie as a critique, RJ, of the punk scene, and there was a period of time where the punk people actually hated this movie because it depicted them so ugly and poorly. So I don't know. In some senses, RJ, this movie, I think, actually does encapsulate your view of, I think, of punk and dirty, filthy people, because the movie feels like it's been made by those people. Because Derek Jarman apparently was not a fan of this. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious, RJ, to hear your thoughts now of Jubilee, because we all know where it's going, but.
Well, you've alluded a little bit to my things that might surprise you. I think my biggest thing is Jubilee. Juba shit. See, that's getting better every week, eh? But in all seriousness, this movie is absolute dog shit. This is one. I'm not even exaggerating, Jarrett. This is one of the worst movies we have ever watched together. We didn't even watch it together, but like,
I usually argue or something right here, but nope.
This is legitimately and genuinely.
This is worse than Dog. This is I think I would say worse than Dog Star Man.
Yeah, I put it underneath both of those. Absolutely. So like your ranked lists for the Creeps so far are better because you've chunked them in 100 spine segments, which is better because I have the monster list, which is almost at 200, and sometimes I forget, like, it's like I don't even remember that movie, but I guess this one this week is better than that for some reason. But I can say with confidence, bottom of even the 200 so far that we've covered, Jubilee sucks. Like, it is like so bad. Within the first 5-10 minutes of this thing, I was like, oh yeah, it's like I don't like this at all.
And then it keeps going.
Half an hour in, I was like, holy fuck. An hour in, I stopped for the night. I watched this over 2 nights because I was just like, I got to a point where I was like, I have the time. I could finish this. I set my day aside for this. And I was like, I don't want to fucking finish this movie because I don't think I can do it right now. There's so much I dislike about this. But
you rank it above Night Porter and Salo still?
I have different issues with Night Porter and Salo.
Those movies are at least like they're like told.
So you know what, like,
like they're told
I was actually
stories, like, because Salo is like a really like well shot movie.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I was on the fence because I was like, you know what, I don't know about between Night Porter, so I'll put it under Night Porter, but Salo is. And probably will forever be the bottom of my list.
That's such bullshit.
No, that is a 100% accurate take on things. So yeah, Jubilee's worse than the Night Porter even. Because the Night Porter, again, like you said, Night Porter I found that movie conflicting because it had like nice elements to it. It had good cinematography, and I liked some of the stuff that they were going with the story. I just didn't like that movie like at all. So Jubilee is complete bullshit. This is the definition of try-hard art house garbage, I think, in every way that I imagine it. Up front, I hate punk. I think punk is the dumbest, shittiest trend and like fad, like genre lifestyle. It's the worst one, hands down. It is the worst one. You can be emo, you can be goth.
It's
you
like
could,
sociology
you
in
can be.
art.
This is absolute. This is the sociology of like people. It is the absolute bottom barrel, lowest of the low. And I don't give a shit if you like punk. Fuck you. Okay. I hate punk.
See, I'm not saying this. I'm not
Yeah, I
saying
know
this
you're
at
not
all.
saying. I know you're not saying this.
You are though.
I like new punk stuff, which isn't really punk.
Like Blink 182.
Yes, I do. Yeah. Well,
See, there you go.
some people call Blink new punk. I call it alt rock because that's what it is in my mind is alt rock.
And he believes in aliens.
Yes, I do. Tom DeLonge does. We both do. We share that.
Yeah.
So I don't think Blink 182 is punk. But there's so much of the punk stuff that I just don't like, and it's the same with Sid and Nancy, where I still believe that Sid and Nancy is not a good movie like the way people think it is. But one of the big reasons I don't like it is the punk scene. Punk people are fucking garbage people. They walk around, they're spitting on people's faces. They're like, "Oh, you don't like me? Then it's your attitude, man. You have the problem." And it's like, no, if you're gonna walk around being a piece of shit, it's like that's your problem. Don't put that on other people. It's like you got to accept me, man. I think it's total bullshit. I think it's an excuse to be shitty towards other people. And I'm just gonna say it, Jarrett. I think punk people suck. 100%. 100% they suck. So I hate that. I think this movie encapsulates that completely. But this movie is also the most, as I said, the most try-hard bullshit. And it's like this insider referential stuff.
See, I wish this was try hard because it would be better. It feels like not at all like it's trying hard.
Okay, so here's my try hard moments. You have this like fucking worked in meta Shakespearean stuff. It's like, what if one of Shakespeare's characters was like real, man, and he came and he was a time traveler, man. It's like Otto from The Simpsons is writing a fucking screenplay.
I don't know about that, but
well, that's how I took it in. But I think so. All the Shakespeare like put in stuff, I think is dumb. Then you have all these like different things where it's like all the artists in this are like anarchy is art and anarchy is life.
Yes,
art is life. And then they're like, whoa, and they're just like hanging out in painted black rooms.
So again, keep in mind that Jarman is making fun of punks.
I'm aware. No, see, I know what he's making fun of in this sense, but at the same time, I don't think it's presented. I don't think it's presented like that. I feel like he likes this stuff.
But he doesn't, apparently.
Even so, it's fucking garbage. And then there's also like this needlessly excessive violence stuff where, hey, I just went on a big rant about how I think Rambo is awesome because of its excessive violence.
Whoa.
The way it's but in Rambo, that's what that whole movie is about. That's why you buy the ticket to that movie. You want to see that. This movie, it pops up and it's just like, look at these people. They believe in nothing. They're going to assault waitresses. They're going to like castrate guys and have boxing matches. It's like, I feel it's so needless and pointless. It's just like, why? What is this even in here for? The scene that I hate more than anything is that boxing match between them, and like that's not even the excessive violence. It's so pointless. It's so ridiculous. And that lady with the short buzzed hair, she symbolizes everything about punk that I dislike. Where it's like very in your face, and it's like you don't like me, that's your problem, and it's like, get away from me. You know what I mean? Like that whole scene is so in your face. It's like, go away. Stop bothering people. Fucking move to the mountains, buy a horse. Stop bothering everybody. Man, I hate punk, Jarrett. I hate it. So I think
RJ, I was at Five Guys a few weeks ago, and
you went for a burger without me.
And I was standing in the line, and I was looking around, and like I realized over the radio the Sex Pistols were playing, and talking about anarchy in the UK, and I'm looking out over this like, I guess like a sea of humanity stuff in their faces with hamburgers, and there's this like 67-year-old men and women just eating their hamburgers, and they're listening to the Sex Pistols because it's just pop music now.
Yep.
And like, no, it's like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just been absorbed, and everything basically sounds like it. And you're like, because me, I'm like, oh, these people are like almost like were like run out of the country, and they were like, I think Johnny Rotten was stabbed as well.
Sure.
So I mean, there was like this moment, RJ, in Thatcher's Britain, where this was the reaction, the working class reaction to how shitty things were, and this music kind of organically kind of grew out of that.
I understand the historical significance.
I don't think you do, though. I don't think you do.
The
fact that you don't know who Susie and the Banshees are, oh man, that's a bummer. Because they're not even a punk band. And you hate them.
I understand the historical significance of the punk movement to not just music, but to culture and society. What I'm saying is I think punk people are bad people. And I don't like that movement. I understand how much it influenced what we have today, but I like how you brought up Five Guys. That's a perfect analogy for this. Five Guys Burgers and Fries is a nice place. They make tasty burgers, but I hate going there. And you know why? Because it's fucking filthy. It's disgusting in there. Not the peanuts. I don't give a shit about the peanuts that you eat in there. Every person who goes to Five Guys is a fucking animal, and they just leave mounds of garbage on their tables and then take off.
Have you ever seen the garbages, though? The garbages they have, they're full. They're overflowing.
Yeah, because there's only ever two fucking people who work at Five Guys. One person working the till, one person making the food, and it's like, hire two more people. One person to help out and just to empty garbages all day long. Do it. So yeah, I like Five Guys, but I hate the people who take it up. Probably the same with punk. Probably the same with the Fight Club fan base. Probably the same with the Hidden Fortress fan base.
Hire some more people. Keep up the status quo.
Just be better at this. Like, it doesn't have to. My big thing is, it doesn't have to be like.
Don't question things. Just go with the flow.
It doesn't have to be like that. So Five Guys is a perfect analogy for Jubilee. And like I've talked about this before, where it came up in the Truffaut things, where there's like that inside referential stuff where it's like jokes. It's like, oh, this is France in 1970. Am I right? Wink, wink. And it's like, okay. I know you guys didn't think people would be watching these movies, reviewing them fucking 50 years later. I get that. But like this movie, all these alleged punk idols that are popping up.
Well, they weren't though. These were like
a dumb gimmick that I feel like doesn't mean anything.
Well, they were making for their friends, I guess, at the time.
Sure.
But apparently a lot of the bigger acts dropped out of it before they made it because they were like, we don't like the way this is going. Fair point. And then they got kind of like lesser known acts, I would say. And so now it's just like kind of like this, I don't know. I don't know why it's here in the collection, honestly. It's so chunky.
I have no idea why this isn't included.
It's so unappealing, but I guess it's like, well, it's this unique, specific type of movie. I'm like, yeah, I guess so. But yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I'm pretty sure that movies like this do not get really put in there. I mean, the closest thing to it are like John Waters movies, but those at least resemble movies, like still like they feel like there's like a flow. But I mean, they're like, you're going to hate John Waters movies, let me tell you.
I'm sure I will.
But for different reasons than I think that are the problems with Jubilee, where there's just like nothing to like.
I think I can recognize filmmaking standards. It's like we brought up earlier, Night Porter. I have a lot of problems with Night Porter, but Night Porter is an actual movie.
Yeah.
Jubilee
as is Salo.
No, Salo's something. Salo exists in this different plane, and it's unlike anything. Jubilee. When I was watching this whole movie, all I could think of, I was like, this is like if a high school kid was writing Joker fan fiction. It's like, I heard there's a Joker origin movie. I'm gonna write my own. And it's just this squalor, these people, this art, this anarchy. We're going to have a boxing match just because.
Maybe that's what Todd Phillips' vision is going to be like.
It could be. I wouldn't like it too much.
It's interesting. We both strongly dislike this movie, but I think for different reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, this movie sucks, Jarrett. At least we can agree that this movie is horrible, right?
Yeah. I'm just always annoyed when like a movie just does absolutely nothing stimulating. Like you're just like,
plus,
it's just scenes.
It's an hour and 46 minutes long.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
If this thing was 80 minutes, it would have a little bit more leeway.
It would be a half hour shorter.
It would be yes, but you know what I mean. It's like
Yeah,
if this was like an hour long, you'd be like, it's not good, but at least it's not long. But it's not good and it's long, so
yeah.
it's even worse.
Yeah,
Like you.
like me.
This movie sucks, and I hate you for making me watching this.
Okay. Let's hear from one person who hates this movie, and then RJ, let's hear from who loves this movie.
Okay.
Okay. So I think this is the lowest one. Half a star from Luke.
From Luke. Okay, I see Luke.
Yeah. Man, I cannot ever overstate just how much I fucking hate punk. The entire original movement was immediately commercial, capitalist, and full of poser losers with no personality or actual beliefs. So they just clung onto some bullshit fashion to be edgy and wow.
Yeah.
Every band that led up to punk was far more sincere and in it solely for the art's sake because there was no scene to obsess over. Also, modern-day punks are just as insufferable and completely void of purpose, regurgitating the same slogans that they don't even understand or advocate. How does all this relate to the movie? Well, it captures punk exactly. Flashy, showy, shocking, acts done because why not? Jarman does take the opportunity to shit on punk a bit, but this whole thing is just one extended fart. Thank God Jarman stepped up later on. This Luke, he's like a more articulate RJ.
Excuse me. I'd say we're equally articulate in different facets. I agree with Luke completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with most of his ratings. Like, he's got good ratings. He's got Citizen Kane, 5 stars. Mulholland Drive, 5 stars. Silence of the Rams,
yes,
5 stars. But then he does also have, like, a little questionable things, like Funny Games, 5 stars. But he gave Swiss Army Man and Blair Witch 5 stars, so that's pretty cool. But half stars, Jarrett. Again, back and forth. He just gave The Fanatic with John Travolta a half star. I haven't seen that movie, but it looks awesome. Playtime by Jacques Tati, a half star. And that movie that's been brought up before, LaQuisha, where a white man pretends to be a black woman. He gave that a half star. Is it a half star? I don't know. Time will tell.
Probably.
Is In the Mood for Love a half a star?
Whoa.
See, he's a little here, he's a little there, Jarrett.
Huh. I wonder if he was on the show back then.
He could have been back then.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. All right, RJ. Now we're going to do a 5-star.
All right, hit it.
Boy, I wish I could actually read this. Malice in W Land.
Malice in W Land? I
get
gotcha.
it? Malice, like in Wonderland? You feel me?
What?
5 stars.
Okay.
I've been on a good films hot streak recently, and British directors for some reason, but this film is on a whole different level. This film is just an experience. It's my favorite sort of film where the scenes just sort of fade together and it just becomes a feeling. This film is more than punk. It's art. There is not much order to it, and the plot is pretty non-existent, but within the pure chaos and disorder, there's something beautiful. Maybe I just have a flair for the dramatic and think seeing people monologue histrionically is good enough time at the cinema. Derek Jarman's Jubilee serves campus capitalist sentiment by blending decrepit DIY set decoration with angsty youths monologuing about British how achieves the highest form of trash art. Oh, the most punk films ever made, in the sense that it doesn't give a fuck if you like it or not. Intellectual, shocking, beautiful, ugly, singular garbage. My cup of tea through and through.
But then they also gave Shape of Water 5 stars, and the Funny Games remake 5 stars also. And then the half stars are just Neil Breen movies, and then Anomalisa, Charlie Kaufman, which is
and no, that movie sucks.
Oh, does it?
Oh, it's not a half star, but it's not good.
So there's that, and then Pay It Forward is a half a star take, and then Disaster Artist, which the person who hated this movie too, they also gave the Disaster Artist 1 star, which I think Disaster Artist is a very good show. I don't know what their problem is, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's not. aging
was
very
good when I
well at
watched
this
it.
point. Like absolutely no one talks about it. It was very, but
Well, maybe you and me should do a podcast about that movie.
yeah, about things that we.
It's dumb.
Oh,
Okay.
Susie.
All right, well, let's go to the videos here. Let's see this number one.
Oh my god. Anyways, this wretched film.
This is absolutely one of the worst movies we've watched.